Welcome to Take It from the Iron Woman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Iron Woman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Iron Woman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take It from the Iron Woman. We have spoken to Nadia before. She is the educator, coach, Masters in Education, 520 races, 75 BQ, which is Boston qualifier. She's a fast runner. It's just contagious, I would say. And when we look at your Instagram feed, 108,000 people following you. How did you create that? I mean, the followership is not so easy to create.
It actually happened organically around 2013. And I actually stayed off social media. I mean, I didn't have my first cell phone until I think my sophomore year in college. Now kids have them when they're 10, 11 years old. And it's like so common. Cell phones were around. It's not that they weren't around. I chose not to connect. I think the internet it was born in the 1980s, and then cell phones were more readily available and pagers and back then. And I just didn't want a cell phone when I was in high school. I didn't want to be on social in high school. And in college, I also didn't want to be on social, or I was forced to get a cell phone just to make sure I can connect with my parents because I was already out of the house. And it wasn't until I finished grad school, and this is at age 21, 22, and it was in 2007, it's like, maybe I'll just create some accounts and see what I find. And you create, there's 0 friends, 0 followers, 0 anything. I was like, well, okay, I'm going to do it just for me. I'm going to create pictures and a little photo journal for me. And that's what it was. It was that for a couple of years. And then since I race a lot, I was just using that as kind of my photo journal. I keep tons and tons of Excel spreadsheets now in all of my race data. And on my medals, every single medal has data behind it. Every single bib that I have has data on the back of it. Social was just another way of keeping track for me visually. It was when I was reaching closer and closer to my 100th marathon where it just started growing and growing. And I was connecting and meeting more people as I went to different races, different states, different countries. And again, it wasn't like sponsored runners I wasn't a sponsored runner. I was paying for everything on my own as a teacher, and a teacher's salary in California is not high at all. But because I was a career woman by the age of 2021 and I was already saving, I graduated debt free from UCLA. I had that spending leisure money that I could play with. For me, finances are very important. I took care of it very early. And as long as I live within my means were traveling and racing and then doing that thing that I could go ahead and play. Like a third would go into my responsibilities and my bills, and a third would go to be savings, and then a third would go to play. I had a lot of play money, and I traveled a lot in my 20s. And again, the more you travel, the more people, wow, what kind of life are you living? Do you work? I'm a full-time teacher, and I work from home at this event production company, but I was just invigorated by life. I was so energized by life. I wasn't sleeping a lot, which is probably it's not a good thing. Because now it's caught up with me now. I prioritize sleep tremendously. The older and older I get, I realize how I always knew it, but I feel it now. I feel the detriments if I just end up with less sleep. I need to take care of my body more. I need to take recovery more. That growth of social just happened organically at first, but I was at the 100th marathon where I started getting TV interviews because I was so young. I was 26, 25. And I wasn't just marathoning. I was doing a ton of different things. Again, so for my philosophy as a teacher and a coach was you need to challenge yourself. You need to keep doing something new. And then you need to ask yourself, why are you doing it? Why is this goal important? If you're only looking for external praise, if you're only looking for maybe to please your parents, if it's external, it's going to die off and it's going to it won't last. It needs to be internalized. It needs to be very powerful inside of you so that you can be empowered to keep doing it and keep going on the days that you don't want to. And I think that messaging, because I would share that. I would share my struggles. I would share my triumphs. I would share my family. I would share how I'm a person that from the outdoors, how it just, everyone has a story, everyone, and everyone's important on this planet. And I think the more we are able to share our stories and those struggles, we can learn from others and we can connect with others. This is why we love movies, because if a person is crying at tearing up from a movie, it's because they somehow connected with the story that's being told. And so we have that power to tell our story. And so my biggest problem with social media was, and it still is a problem, is that sometimes people just only share the perfection, the little glimpses of perfection in their life. And it's either from pictures or from videos of like, look where I'm going, look what I'm doing, look what I'm accomplishing, look what I'm this. And it's like, that's amazing and it's great. But it doesn't do really good for your own self-esteem, for your own mental health, because then you are only sharing that stuff to just get the external praise. Where if you share what you're struggling with, and then you don't have to, if you don't want to, you don't have to. That's why you can step away from social. But I'm talking about, it's hurting others when we see that. It's hurting others and it's hurting our mental life, because it's like we're trying to match our lives to that perfect life that's shared, and it's not perfect. I wanted to change that, and I wanted to be a person that didn't just share with the perfections or the accomplishments, the triumphs, because there is so much to learn from our failures. There's so much to learn from other people's mistakes. And I think there's a really good saying that goes, a smart person learns from their mistakes. A wise person learns from other people's mistakes. And that's not because we should always look for people's mistakes. It's more of like, we're a community and we can learn from each other. We can help each other. We can encourage each other. But big too is learning from others. And so I love learning. And that's why if I open the space of sharing my failures, it hopefully makes others to share their failures as well and be comfortable and say, connect, like, wow, you are a real person. And you had a dad who had to fight through cancer and are struggling with that. You had to go through a major heartbreak, major transition, and whatever, major loss in your family, just major career changes I have had. There's just different life obstacles and life stages that we go through. And I think it's important to, if you're creating that story that you're sharing, it helps others to feel it's safe. It's safe to be vulnerable. It's safe. So because of that messaging, I waited until I graduated graduate school to get onto social. And like I said, all the TV interviews started coming because of the messaging that I was sharing. And I went on Telemundo, Univision, KTLA Live. I think the biggest organic growth happened when I went on. Nobody knew who I was really outside of like my small accounts. I did a KTLA morning news. It was like 2-3 minute piece where I just spoke. And at that time, I think it was 25 or 26. And again, normally you see clips of people like for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds on TV, but it's not speaking. It's just like, oh, how did you feel about this event that just happened? It's like something newsworthy. Whereas like for me, they interviewed my story and I shared a 3-minute clip where they shared my story about my father, about why I'm doing this, why it's important, why am I reaching the 100 marathons, what inspired me. And because of my messaging of my why and how I wanted to help others, it was something that it blew up my social. And then other TV and magazines wanted to reach out to me because again, she's not a sponsored runner. She's not just a runner. She's not just a daughter or a sister or a wife or a mother of a dogs or keeping up a home. She's not just a teacher. She's not only a coach. She's like everything. And she's also trying to give back to her community. Mm-hmm. I think that's why we as adults love kids, because kids help remind us that it's good. It's great to play. It's great to smile. It's great to just feel that positive energy and just run free. And I think even though I was an adult career woman, that I was helping remind people that it's still important to remind ourselves to be that and let that inner child be alive and not let it get dampened or quieted by what's happening in our world, because there's always going to be those world challenges that we have to navigate through. But that's kind of how my social media has grown since, and just continues to grow, because I never feel like it's safe to be linear. It's when you reach for a goal, it's a very, very diverging path, and you have to jump hurdles. And so our personal identity has to go through those hurdles and has to go through those changes. I don't do it for others. I do it for myself because I feel genuinely happy. And if I don't, I've gone through periods in my life where I've gotten depressed. I've gotten through deep holes in my life where it's been dark, very, very dark. I want to share that with people delicately, to share them. I'm human, and I hope that by being human, that I can find a safe space and someone else can find a safe space too. I hope social media can transform in that way. It's like this positive medium where it can educate, inspire, and motivate people.
Thank you for sharing. And I mean, there's so much on social these days, and you mentioned it correctly. A lot of people just show when we were able to travel, going to Paris, London, all the glamour stuff, but lives, they don't always look as glamorous as the social media does. I really appreciate that for you. And I have one more question for you. What do you do when you're not active?
When I'm not moving, because actually running in the trails is very meditative for me. It's my safe space. It's my space where I can get mental clarity. Mountains, especially when I don't have internet service. I love that because it forces me temporarily to just be really in touch with my mind, body, and thoughts. I think that we don't give ourselves enough space and time to just be stuck with our thoughts. And any time we can take the time to do that is very important. However, whatever that meditation might mean to you, whatever that metacognition might mean for that one person. But for me, if I'm not in the mountains, I think some of my favorite things to do is watch a movie in my compression boots and eat popcorn. That's kind of how I recover. I love popcorn. I love movies. I do love relaxing. I think one thing is my parents, when I was growing up, they would say, "You are the laziest athlete, the laziest, hardest working athlete that we know." But because I would push myself so hard during training and racing that on the other side, I was like, now I get to relax. I get to enjoy my food. I get to enjoy the little simple pleasures. And I've given myself permission to transform my way of thinking, that it's great to find gratitude in simple pleasures. Because if I keep wanting more things, more bigger car, more luxurious house, more luxurious something, if I have my basic needs met, then I know that I can enjoy these little things every day. And you find more fulfillment in those little things. Because the one thing that money can't buy is time. And once that time is gone, once that time has passed, it doesn't matter if you have millions and millions of dollars. And it's like, what did you do with your time? And the biggest thing they tell you is when you're on your last days, when you're on that deathbed, everyone says, what did you do with your time? And do you feel you had a fulfilled life? Do you truly? And what does that mean to you? And so I've had moments in my life where I've almost lost my sister, and I've almost lost my father to cancer. I've almost lost my own life. Those stages in my life where it reminds me, it's a harsh reminder that you need to value the day that you're in. You need to value little things. And that's why I love watching movies in my compression boots, eating my popcorn. And then also cuddling my puppy and my loved ones.
The puppies. 10 puppies. Now we have 9 puppies.
Yes. Another aspect of my identity is animals and dogs. I'm a huge, huge, huge dog mom. I've had dogs in my life for over 20 years. My childhood for about 12 years, 10 years. And then in my adult life for 13, 14 years now. They're a huge part. And I recently have just lost my 2 seniors. I had a 13-year-old Labrador Max and a 12-year-old boxer, Bruno. And I just lost him before the holidays, this past holidays. Still fresh. They're my sons. I don't have children. Those were my children. Those are my baby. I've had so much adventure with them. I changed careers for them. I took them to work with me. I just feel that the more that you give, make other people that you love happy, the more it makes you happy. This is why parents love making their kids happy, because when they see them smile, they smile. And so to see my dogs healthy and smiling, it just always made me happy. And so they were a big part of my life. It wasn't just, I'm going to work, bye, or we're just going to go for a little walk or a hike on the weekends. It was everything. They were my everything. To lose them was very, very difficult. And I that was one of the times where I hit a real low, physically, and even like purpose. I felt a void of emptiness that I hadn't felt maybe only once in my life. It was lost. And I still had my third dog. I had 3 dogs at the time. Now I have only Buster. My Buster is he's 110 pounds, Labrador, beautiful, beautiful Labrador, and a bundle of energy. He looks like a lion. He's huge, but he's given me a blessing recently. And I think just timing was perfect, and things happened for a reason. And here right now we have 9 newborn Labrador puppies that we are raising. And it's just an absolute heartwarming to see, just listening to them squirm and nurse the mom. It's just beautiful. We can't wait to find homes for them. And as they're going to be adopted on April 18th, which is actually the Boston Marathon Day.
Thank you so much, Nadia. This is fantastic to talk to you, to get your energy. I feel like I need to run. I need to do the Ironman again. Motivate others to go with us, to do more. And we know we can all do more. And please take good care of yourself and of the 9 puppies. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Always fun to talk to an active person. Many races, Ironman, marathon, you name it, she has done it. What are you taking away? Take it from the Iron Woman. We have episodes every Monday, every Wednesday. There's something for everybody, something for you to learn, to grow, to be inspired. And Take It from the Iron Woman started out as a book. Download it, read it, enjoy it. It's global business coaching with sports parallels.